Welcome back to Road of Echoes. Tonight's episode is titled Inside the Kirtland Cult, Faith, Fear, and Murder, a descent into one of the darkest and most unsettling true crime stories in Ohio's history. We're traveling to Kirtland, Ohio, a quiet town with sacred roots, a historic temple, and a secret that once hid beneath the floorboards of a rural barn. This is the story of a self-proclaimed prophet, the followers who surrendered their lives to him, and the family who paid the ultimate price. If you're watching on YouTube or TikTok, please like, subscribe, follow, and share this episode. Your support helps Road of Echoes grow and keeps these stories alive. Let's begin. On the far eastern edge of Kirtland, Ohio, where the woods crowd the old farm roads, there once stood a weather-beaten barn on Euclid-Chardon Road. It looked ordinary, but inside, beneath its wooden floor, a pit had already been dug. Lime waited in bags, boards were stacked nearby, and above it all, the Avery family's belongings sat neatly arranged, creating the illusion of simple storage. Boards and debris were stacked nearby, and above it all, in the loft, the Avery family's belongings sat neatly arranged, boxes, furniture, personal items, creating the illusion of simple storage. This barn wasn't just a backdrop, it was prepared, it was chosen, and in the spring of 1989, it became the center of one of Ohio's darkest crimes. Jeffrey Lundgren didn't arrive in Kirtland as an outsider. He was born in Independence, Missouri, the headquarters of the reorganized Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and raised in its teachings from childhood. His early life was shaped by a strict, emotionally distant father and long stretches of isolation. He grew up quiet, withdrawn, and deeply absorbed in Scripture. By his teens, Lundgren believed he saw meanings in the Bible that others couldn't. He became a lay minister in the RLDS church, known for his dramatic delivery and intense interpretations. But his behavior grew erratic. He misused church funds. He preached increasingly extreme revelations. Eventually, the church removed him from leadership. Hat break became a turning point. Lundgren left Missouri carrying with him a belief that he had been chosen, not rejected. And when he arrived in Kirtland, Ohio, he began gathering followers who believed he truly spoke for God. Kirtland has deep roots in Latter-day Saint history. In the 1830s, Joseph Smith built the movement's first temple here, turning the quiet Ohio town into a spiritual center. More than a century later, the reorganized Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the RLDS, still cared for the temple and held classes in its shadow. Dennis and Cheryl Avery were part of that tradition. They were RLDS members long before they ever met Jeffrey Lundgren. They attended services, volunteered, and joined scripture classes led by Lundgren himself. His dramatic teaching style drew them in, and soon the Averys became part of his inner circle. By the late 1980s, Lundgren had gathered 20 to 25 followers in Kirtland. Some lived communally on the Euclid-Chardon Road farmhouse property. Others visited daily for work, prayer, and study. But as Lundgren's teachings grew darker, he began dividing the group, separating the faithful from those he claimed were unclean. The Averys, once loyal supporters, became targets of his paranoia. Life on the Euclid-Chardon Road farmhouse was shaped by psychological manipulation. Lundgren isolated his followers from family, church leadership, and outside support. He demanded confessions, encouraged people to report on each other, and twisted RLDS scripture into warnings of purity, obedience, and divine punishment. Early on, he used praise to draw people in. Later, he used fear, claiming that doubt was sin and disobedience was rebellion against God. Followers surrendered their paychecks, their privacy, and eventually their independence. Life on the Euclid-Chardon Road farmhouse was shaped by psychological manipulation. Lundgren isolated followers from family and church leadership. He demanded confessions, encouraged reporting on each other, and twisted scripture into warnings of purity and punishment. Praise became fear. Independence dissolved. Ronald Luff, the enforcer, enforced rules, carried out orders, reinforced Lundgren's authority. Alice Lundgren, the silent reinforcer. Her quiet acceptance made questioning unthinkable. Deborah Olivares, the devoted believer, obedient, unquestioning, spiritually dependent. Ralph Mayo and Matt McMaster. The laborers maintained the property, reinforcing isolation. Children. The psychological cage grew up believing obedience, safety. Dennis Avery became financially entangled. Cheryl became socially isolated. Their daughters grew emotionally dependent. When Lundgren labeled them unclean, no one resisted. Manipulation didn't just isolate the Averys, it made them targets. By 1989, Lundgren's teachings shifted from revelation to paranoia. He bought guns using Avery's credit card. He claimed enemies were closing in. He preached that God commanded him to seize the Kirtland temple, the throne of divine authority. Financial tension. Dennis questioned expenses. Obedience issues. The Averys hesitated. Prophecy distortion. Lundgren declared the Averys unclean. Temple obsession. He believed seizing it would legitimize him. Group unrest, exhaustion, fear, fractures. Unrest grew. Money vanished. Families fractured. The Averys hesitated, and hesitation became betrayal. On April 17th, the Avery children, Trina, 15, Rebecca, 13, Karen, 7, were withdrawn from school. That evening, the family was led into the barn. Years of manipulation stripped them of resistance. They entered quietly, believing they were obeying God's will. One by one, they were taken down into the pit. One by one, they were shot. Followers later admitted guilt and nightmares. Some justified obedience. Others confessed fear, but none intervened. Silence was fatal. The grave was uncovered because former followers broke their silence. Fear, guilt, and disillusionment drove them to authorities. Investigators searched the loft first, finding Avery belongings stacked neatly above the burial site. Beneath boards and debris, they uncovered disturbed soil, lime, and then the bodies. After the murders, Lundgren moved the group through West Virginia and California. They lived in tents, barns, and makeshift camps. The group splintered. Some fled. Others stayed loyal. Federal agents finally captured Lundgren at a desert campground in California. In court, Lundgren remained defiant. He claimed he was a prophet chosen by God. His defense argued insanity, but the jury rejected it. He was sentenced to death. 12 followers were indicted separately. Some argued coercion. Some admitted guilt, but minimized their role. Ronald Luff described the murders as purification. Deborah Olivares testified about fear and silence. Each trial revealed the same truth. Obedience had replaced conscience. Kirtland found itself in an unwanted spotlight. Residents described shock, grief, and disbelief. The barn became a symbol, not of faith, but of betrayal. The barn is gone now, but locals say the land feels heavy, unsettled, as if the earth remembers. Jeffrey Lundgren was executed in 2006 after 16 years on death row. Even in prison, he spoke as if he were a prophet, never expressing remorse. His followers received sentences ranging from decades to life. Ronald Luff and Alice Lundgren remain imprisoned. Deborah Olivares served decades before parole. The RLDS temple carried the weight of unwanted association. Leaders reminded the public that Lundgren had been expelled, that his teachings were not theirs. Yet the temple's history was shadowed by the violence nearby. For Kirtland, the murders became a scar. The barn was torn down, but the memory remained. In the end, prophecy had become a weapon, and a quiet Ohio town was left to carry the echo. In Kirtland, prophecy became a weapon, and a barn became a tomb. Thank you for joining me on this journey into the shadows of Kirtland. Your support keeps Road of Echoes alive and allows these stories to be told with the care they deserve. If you'd like to help the channel grow, please like, follow, subscribe, and share this episode. I'll see you in the next chapter.